Thank you very much for taking a few minutes to listen to all our different comments. I'm Bill Varney. I'm an angler. I'm a surf fishing angler. I'm an author, and I am a board member of Coastal Conservation Association of California. And I wanted to talk a little bit about this subject, but I'd first like to thank Melissa for taking a few minutes. I know there was some criticism earlier today about how long it takes to get things from the government, and I asked her for some information about today's meeting, and she got it to me right away. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. Regarding these pumps, I just want to reiterate what the other callers had said also, that it's very important to have the specific definition of what this pump is. Slurp guns, slurp pumps have been used for generations. There's two of them basically available on the market. One is made in Australia by Alvi, which is a company that went out of business 2 years ago after 102 years, a big fishing company. And then the other is mostly made by hand. You can go to my book, Surf Fishing, The Light Line Revolution, and you'll find in the appendix exactly how to make them. It's about $17 to $20 at the Home Depot. They're very efficient, they're very safe, and they don't use the same hydraulic structures this other one does. So I'd be really careful about that, and also say that slurp guns in the ruling, say it in particular, point those out as that is something that you can use. Another thing that I wondered about is, is it a problem with the pump itself, or is it a problem with the people going over limit? Because why does the pump really matter? Now, I can see from the standpoint of the eelgrass, I'd be concerned about that. But let's say with a little bit more study, we find out that the pump is less detrimental to the environment and gets the angler off of the water quicker than, let's say, a spade or a shovel, where they're digging into the sand and possibly injuring other clams or crabs or clams or worms or other things that are there. So I would say it would probably be smart to do some research about that too, and see if moving forward with technology may be something better than worse. And then the last thing, sand crabs, which occur all along the coast from Oregon to Cabo San Lucas or farther. I found them all over the world. They are not affected by a gun like this. There's no way you can collect them that way. You use a hand rake in order to do it, or a colander. So I wouldn't include sand crabs whatsoever. And ghost shrimp, by the same token, would be very, very difficult to take this way and by hand, because they swim, they're quick. Once the sand is liquidated, they'll move. So I would basically take a look at all of those different things and the other comments, and please do us a favor and define specifically the type of pump that is not going to be able to be used. Thank you very much for your time.
The next speaker is Greg Helms, and Zoom is telling me I need to promote him to panelist in order for him to speak. May I promote him?
Yes, please.
Mr. Helms, have you filled in yet?
Thank you, and thank you again for the extra help, Sherry. Greg Helms with Ocean Conservancy. I did want to chime in on this one, and appreciate the department for catching the resource concern here, because gear changes and more highly efficient gears coming onto the scene has been kind of one of the recurring themes in some of the worst and most intractable problems we've had, whether it's fishing for lobster, fishing for crabs, and other types of issues. And I really hope that conservation concerns will prevail here. It would be ideal, in an ideal world, to have a set of regulations that would navigate every possible circumstance and satisfy everybody. But really, the successful sustainable management of this resource, is based on a certain efficiency, a certain participation and effort. And when those variables radically change, it needs to be responded to as the staff proposes. So I strongly support it and hope you will too. Thank you very much.
Looks like we have one more, or two more.
Wayne Cotto?
Hi, Commissioners. Wayne Cutto with the Coastal Conservation Association of California. I guess I have a few concerns that, I hear that we're being more efficient with the hydraulic pumps, and I understand the concern of overtake, but we're always supposed to be science-driven. And I haven't seen anything that says that we actually have done a stock assessment, that there's a concern, other than somebody stating that there might be a concern, but I haven't actually seen quantitatively the stock and why they think that we're going to overtake at this point. I understand that there is a concern that there might be, but we're supposed to have that data available to us first. We always drive our decisions on bag limits. So why aren't we going after lowering a bag limit first rather than going after a gear type that may be more efficient? I agree with what Mr. Varney said. If the gear is more efficient, it isn't necessarily more harmful to nature. It actually may be more efficient to get more people off the water and out of the environment than a shovel, a spade, or a pitchfork. So I'm not sure that we're actually there yet. I think it needs to be reviewed. And I also agree that we need to be very careful, because as you go south down the coast, these same methods aren't being used for the same take. The shrimp that we get, or the sand crab, like Mr. Varney was saying, we don't use this gear type. It wouldn't be efficient. The slurp guns are what we use, and there isn't a concern. So why are we outlawing them or trying to outlaw them? I don't understand. Stick to the one gear type, maybe as an emergency edict till you can get better data on it, but I'm not sure about everything else and why it's all being put all into one big package. So I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Marilyn Jasper.
Hi, thank you. Marilyn Jasper speaking on behalf of Public Interest Coalition. We fully support the recommendation and would actually wish it were a little more stringent. Efficiency should not be a criteria for a sport or a taking. I mean, it is, but that's the skill and no harm should take top priority. And those photos, what we just saw, are mind-boggling. For I realize a shovel can we all realize shovels can cause some other troubles, but with these mechanisms, these devices, people can come in fast, get them and get out. And that's part of the problem. So thank you for your time, and make the restrictions as tight as possible. Thank you.
Richard James.
Hi, Sherry, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
All right, thank you. I wasn't going to comment, but after hearing a few of the prior comments, I wanted to chime in. This is Richard James, and I spent a lot of time in and around Tomales Bay, where we're talking a lot about, not the only place these pumps are used, but I see many, many, many small overloaded boats go out of Tomales Bay with 2 pumpers and lots of tourists. And it's clear, I'm not out on the mud flat, but I can sometimes see them out there with binoculars, that those 2 pumpers take all the clams for the 10 people in the boat. And they can do it in very short order. They can go out there, as was stated earlier, when there's water on the sand flat, and they can stay there during the low tide, and then they can stay there during the flood tide, because they put longer and longer intake and outflow pipes on them. And 2 individuals can pump 100 clams in a very short amount of time. So these devices are allowing, I think, more crimes to be committed than if someone was out there with a shovel. And if 2 guys want to try and dig clams for 10 people, well, they're not supposed to. I'm sure they still do it, but at least it will slow them down. And as has been stated by myself and others on today's meeting, we don't have enough game wardens to keep an eye on the entire state of California. And regulation like this is going to, help the few game wardens that we do have do their job better. So I'm in strong agreement with this, Dan, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all for public comment. I do want to go back to